Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Finance Junkies. How's everybody doing?
Dude, I just wanted to say yesterday when I saw that hat, bro, the 90s called, they want their hat back. All right? What is that?
You know what, Chris? What you don't understand is I'm Heisenberg, okay? I'm in a meth lab every day, and I'm fucking getting ready to take over the world. I got a little Goodwin Deshente in me as well, so we got both.
Everyone's got a little Goodwin in them.
Everyone's got a little Goodwin. 115 people here in 30 seconds. Guys, that is insane. 115 people are here to listen to our dumbasses talk.
Well, some of those people, I said they can see themselves out the door who don't want to hear certain topics. And it's
okay.
fine.
Let me address this. Let me set this up.
Let me address it.
No, let me set it up and then you address it. Let me just set it up. Let me do it. Let me do good cop, bad cop. We had someone yesterday who has 10,000 Twitter followers, but who apparently is I guess a big shot on Twitter, who watched the podcast. And he was like, guys, not everyone likes Bitcoin. You need to understand that. So why are you talking about Bitcoin the whole episode?
I think it was like no one.
I'll just say, look,
like no one likes Bitcoin.
Yeah, he said no one likes Bitcoin. Two things. Number one, we had 400 people stay the whole time. So I think 400 people did care. Number two, this is also a news show. And when something's in the news, you kind of got to talk about it. So
and they missed the whole point. That was more of a personal podcast. Even though Bitcoin was a topic, it was more of a personal podcast that I covered, like my personal experience with it. So I think they're taking the wrong thing away from it if they're just saying we're talking about Bitcoin.
You know, the other thing I commented underneath is like, there are takeaways from discussing investments in any assets, real estate. I mean, you can take lessons that you learn from investing even in real estate and apply that to investing in securities. So it's like either you're a fan of your specific sports team or you're a fan of the sport in general. That's the difference. And I have learned so much from investing in crypto that's informed my investing career that I think a lot of people would get value out of that. I think that was, but it's fine. There's going to be a subset of our audience that feels the same way. Like, oh, they're talking about.
I just wanted to point out one thing.
Phase again.
Sorry, I wanted to point out one thing. That okay, I know we want everybody to watch every episode, but it's okay if you don't watch every episode. I'll say that. Maybe you know.
No. We need the views. Keep watching.
Okay,
if you don't want to watch,
we need the views. Just hold on there, buddy. This is a product that cannot.
No, I'm going to be honest. It's okay if you don't watch every episode.
No, but you can keep it on in the background. Keep it on in the background. Support the channel.
And make sure you click don't skip the ads, man. Don't skip the ads.
I wish we had ads. Shit.
We do. We have ads. I get that Hyundai Ioniq every time.
Ioniq.
The Hyundai.
No, but look, my point is, you don't need to watch every episode. It's okay if you spend some time with your family too. One of those 5 days.
No, fuck your family.
No, that's not. No, do not spend time with your family. Spend time with the Finance Junkies.
All right,
even if you hate the episode, leave it on in the background. Give us the watch time on YouTube. What are you saying?
Yeah, well, no, that's fine.
Here's the thing. When we first started this thing, Vitaly and I did not really talk about Tesla much. And we also didn't talk about Bitcoin much because we were like, this is not the audience for it. And slowly over time, it just keeps creeping up. And now it's a thing. That's just the way it is.
Me and Carlos said every time we talked about Tesla, we were the only YouTubers who lost viewers.
Yeah. We do an episode because people are like, oh, why am I going to listen to these two clowns when you got Farzad and you have Warren, Rob Maurer, Dave Lee. And we were like, man, if only we could talk about Tesla, because it's one of those companies, like you say about Palantir, there's just so much news every day.
Yeah.
You could literally talk about it every day.
The other thing is with Bitcoin, it gives you a sense of where the market is in terms of like, number one, at this point, it's a very important asset class that does affect the general market. So if you see Bitcoin go up, that is a gauge that you can use for your investing. And when it goes down significantly, you can use that as a gauge for investing as well. So even if I don't necessarily look at things that don't matter, like let's say we were talking about those chicken futures. You remember that, where we were looking at broiler chickens? Yeah. What the hell does broiler chickens have to do with an investing channel? Well, you can use that kind of information to go back and say, okay, well, if broiler chicken prices are going to go down, who's going to benefit? So it's the same thing with right now. You're looking at Bitcoin. If Bitcoin keeps going up and the crypto craze comes back, dude, that could mean that companies that make GPUs, right, that are the underlying asset to making all this crypto stuff work, their valuations should be going higher as well, right? Outside of this whole AI stuff. So, you have to, even if you don't want to directly invest in that specific asset class, look for the periphery and see who benefits and who loses from either its gain or its loss, because there could be a tremendous amount of alpha that's just waiting if you're willing to just, take one step back and take a more broad look. So what I like to see, especially when it comes to Bitcoin, is when I see Bitcoin go up in price dramatically, I ask myself, okay, who are the buyers? Is it the institutions? Is it the individuals? And does that mean that the health of the economy is getting better? Are people speculating? Like, are the speculators back in the market? So even if I don't have a very high opinion on Bitcoin, that doesn't mean I'm not going to use it to my advantage to make me a better investor. Gotta use everything.
If we did not have companies like BlackRock with supporting the ETFs, if we didn't have all of this stuff happening, I would say, yeah, this is all retail. This is all sort of like cyclical, what's happening. But this looks to me like these institutions positioning themselves for an eventual spot ETF approval. And all you got to do
let me let Carlos, I see you're about to get into it, so let me do this real quick and then we'll get into Bitcoin, because that's the first topic of the day. Ironically, we're talking about Bitcoin again. First of all, shout out to Sam Chan. This is the real reason I know 234 people are here. I don't have to read the comment, but I know you guys are here because of that comment, so that's okay. Second of all, real quick before we get into Bitcoin, Vitaly, you shared a really good personal story on the pod yesterday. A lot of comments you got. Do you want to share some of the people that reached out about kind of what you shared and what they thought about it?
Yeah, I did have people reach out, and they basically appreciated that I talked personally about that not everything works out exactly the way you want it to work out. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And, so I hope people took away that basically, one, I discussed, if I'm going to summarize, one is that the reason I'm against all this leverage is because I would have been in deep shit in 2018 if I had a lot of leverage. I would have been fucked. I didn't do that. I was still fucked, but I wasn't fucked in the way where I affected my family. They basically didn't even know I was fucked. So that was nice. Number two, conviction in what you believe in the top 3, 4, 5 things you believe in.
I think that was the biggest lesson. I think that was the biggest lesson.
It's all part of it, though. You can't separate the things. And if you have conviction in something, you just keep grinding at it and
taking profits. That was also a lesson. Taking some profits.
That I learned that heavily, obviously, from 2018. And yes, taking a bit of profits. Everybody thinks I'm a long-term investor, which is true. I keep most of my stuff, but as things run, like Enphase did or Bitcoin did, I do take profits. And I'm okay with missing. This is the other part that maybe I didn't discuss yesterday. It's okay not to have everything to go into the next cycle of like the run. Okay. So I used to think I had to have every Bitcoin. I had to have every share of Enphase. I had to have every Tesla. I had to have every house, and I couldn't sell any of those. I don't think like that anymore. As long as I am doing well and the future is bright, I don't need to own all of it, because I guess I don't need to be a billionaire. Let me put it this way: it's okay if I'm just a simple millionaire.
Okay, I disagree with that, but that's fine.
What I got out of it was position sizing. Just making sure that once you have an asset class that gets to a huge position, that's when you really should be like, hey, I need to maybe take some off the top. Because that's what's happened. That's what happened to me in the past, where one position went really, really well for me. And I thought, hey, instead of taking some off the top, it was like, hey, I need to double down on this, because this is a no-brainer. This is the easiest thing in the world. And then guess what happens? And then once the wipeout comes, you take huge losses. So whenever I see I have a huge run up, I would say sell some of it, but keep at least enough that you do see some gains. Like this whole thing when we spoke about Meta, right? Like we had really good gains on Meta. Now, yes, did I sell? Absolutely, I sold, but I felt good about it afterward, because if Meta had gone down to $100, I would have felt like shit, And at the end of the day, if I feel like shit, that's going to impact my investing all the time. So I think position sizing is also another thing that each individual has to take into consideration. And hopefully, Amit, you apply this, because you're doing absolutely gangbusters on your Robinhood position, right? So at what point, what point do you say, hey, it's time to take some principle and just chill? What do you think? What's your thinking behind that?
I think I was telling Vitaly this last night. I think, and I don't want to get into Robinhood because it's a big discussion, but I think by Marchish, if Bitcoin does what we think it can do, those Q4 earnings are going to be spectacular. And I think Robinhood could rally around $15 at that time, maybe 12 to 15. And that's when I would probably take some off, or maybe get rid of the whole position and get out of it. Because I don't believe in it as an investment. It's too cyclical of a business, but as a trade, it's good. But if Bitcoin keeps doing its thing, which Carlos and Vitaly are about to educate us on,
dude, do you guys see this? Did you see the evolution? Do you see the evolution of Amit from when he started this whole thing versus what he is now? Like, dude, look at what you just said, dude. That is what a freaking amazing investor says. Like what you just did right now, you understood why you're in the position, when to get out, having an exit strategy. These are the kinds of things that makes you a well-rounded investor. And that's the one thing I hope everyone here understands, that there's multiple ways to skin a cat, but you as an investor have to figure those things out yourself, and hopefully it's something that's very fruitful for you guys.
Well, I posted on one of his X posts that between him talking about free speech, really coming around to Tesla, and now sort of understanding the Bitcoin story, I was like,
oh no, I understand it,
who is
baby.
this guy
I'm
that
on the train.
hijacked
I
the
get it.
conversation?
I get Bitcoin. I'm there. I'm just using
yeah, but
Robinhood
understand, like,
but
we
ready to
had the
pump the
conversations
100.
about greater fool theory and scammers and
No, I think it was good
money
conversations over the
laundering.
past month. It was really good conversations. It helped, to really
It takes time. It's not.
It takes time. And
you
you
have
guys
to
took time
like,
10 years ago to learn about that.
I've had these conversations with several people, and it maybe goes 1 or 2 levels deep, and then you never have the conversation again. But I don't know about you, Vitaly, but today I started getting the texts from people. Hey, are you still holding Bitcoin? Hey, I saw that Bitcoin's at 44, 45. Like, those are the indicators to me. People that I haven't heard from in 3 years just start texting me again, being like, hey, I remember you telling me about the halving, and I'm seeing it in the news that it's coming soon. Should I be
Is it
buying
time
now?
to buy now?
And I'm like,
You're really getting those texts? Okay, so let's get into
Yeah.
Bitcoin. Let's get into it. So Bitcoin's at 44 grand right now. What's it at?
It touched 45. I posted
40,
it on,
it touched 45. It's at 43,807.
and had a planned sell.
Why is it pumping? And what are the anecdotal experiences you're seeing with people? And why do you think more retail might be coming in because of that stuff?
FOMO. The FOMO's beginning. And although I don't like to see it, the mainstream media calling the top as like 100K, people are starting to say, okay, let's just say that the top is 100K. People are looking at that saying that's at least a 2.5x from where we're at now. If I put 5 or 10 grand in there, could it change my life, right? Although I think the actual top will be much, much higher. Here's a text I got today. Someone had sent me, I'll hide the name, but someone had sent me this. Someone had sent me a link of these, like a meme of Bitcoin starting to pump. It's like, you probably don't remember, but I sold my ETH, I rebought, blah, blah, blah. I took my 10K profit, and it was selling at 40K. I've held it all this time, even though I've been in the red for the last few years, because I knew this day was coming. And I want to thank you for explaining the halving event to me every 4 years. I knew that the next one is next year. And so I stood strong, even though everyone else has been talking shit, and I'm glad I did. It's real.
Most people sold, by the way, that I know.
Yeah. Well,
most people sold out of Enphase, Tesla,
yeah.
Bitcoin, and Ethereum. Basically, most of my portfolio that I believe in.
But a good number of the people that I've spoken to have actually bought back in. Like, they watched it run up to these highs, right?
Yeah.
And then they watched it come down, sold, not capitulated, but they sold when it wasn't near the high, and then bought back in.
Okay.
But Carlos, you think FOMO is the only reason why it's pumping like crazy right now? Like, is there
no? What I was going to get into now, and this is what I typically do, because we now know we've had the discussion about how much the multiplier effect of the money coming into Bitcoin versus the market cap. And so what I usually do is I go on the hourly charts. So I'm sharing it right now. I'll go on the hourly charts and try to figure out what these amounts are. If we know that roughly every $9,000 at this market cap that Bitcoin goes up is roughly $193 million of investment, something like that, right? It's like 193 million versus 70 billion. I start to just do calculations of how big these candles are, because these are hourly candles. There's only so much retail can do, but a candle like this speaks to me that these are institutions buying in. These are hourly candles. Maybe we can go down to like the minute candles and try to see what's happening here. You see, these are big sells. These are not small amounts. If they're moving the market cap for 43,000, a couple of $100 of an asset class that's $850 billion. So that's what I typically do, just to get an idea. I want to see if I see big candles over the course of minutes, then I'm like, that screams to me like it's institutions. Because there was a chart somebody had posted online that, like, I don't know, 70% of all the Bitcoin that's out there that retail has, all less than a Bitcoin. Like, people trading thousands of dollars, but not necessarily holding even 45,000 in
I think in the crypto world, me and Carlos are basically the 1%ers.
We are definitely. There's people that there's the least percentage now ever of people that are holding one actual Bitcoin, and we have a lot more than one actual Bitcoin. So
So-
we're like, you know,
If
we're
you
one of
have one, you're basically in like
yeah.
the top 1 or 2%, something like that.
Mhm.
Okay, let me get Chris in here. Chris, you're seeing the Bitcoin momentum. You care about making money. Are you thinking I know you're heavily in Verizon. You're doing amazing on that position. Verizon almost close to 40. Are you thinking at all of any type of like Robinhood to me is kind of a Bitcoin play as well, proxy? Or there's anything you're looking at to get some exposure to it?
Not really. I'm just looking more on the macro side of things. Like, okay, what is actually driving this outside of the halving and the ETF events?
Right.
So
Right.
I'm trying to correlate it to something like gold, which is also a competing store of value, right? So whenever I see something like this happen, so this right here is the Bitcoin to gold ratio, right? So when the price of Bitcoin goes astronomical, that means that the comparison to gold as a storage of value becomes really, really up there. So if you look at right here in April and October of 2021, there were huge run-ups in Bitcoin, but gold didn't follow suit. That's something to just keep in mind. And then you can see here in December of 22 last year, that was the lowest point. So, of Bitcoin to gold ratio. So I'm trying to see if there's any sort of correlation to gold itself versus the price of Bitcoin. Because like I said, if they are both stores of wealth, which is what the general market thinks, then that means that there has to be some correlation that, that can help us understand, okay, like, hey, this is a lot of like, this could be a possible top, or this could be a possible bottom, versus the other asset class. So if you look at right here, like this, I think would be the top of the funnel. So it would be like Bitcoin to gold ratio of like 36, because it hasn't breached that both times. It's actually retraced right after that. So the thing is, there's still a lot of room for it to run. The question is, and this is the problem with trying to figure out what the exact price of Bitcoin would be at 36, because gold would be running up or down at the same time. So if you see kind of gold go down and Bitcoin go up, that could be like a sign that, hey, listen, and that ratio could go way out of whack. And that could mean that we might possibly be hitting a top in Bitcoin. But from what I can see, and based on this chart, that doesn't seem to be the case. And the only reason why I'm using dates going to 2021 to 2023 and not going far back, like all these years, is primarily because Bitcoin didn't really take off until probably like post COVID or around.
So
COVID.
hold on, what is the reason for why we're not at a top for Bitcoin using this chart?
Primarily because the gold, like, okay, so if you have two competing asset classes for storage of wealth, right? Eventually people are going to say, okay, does it make more sense for me to store my wealth in Bitcoin versus gold? And so if the difference is too much, or it's too magnified, there could be people that says, hey, I think Bitcoin's at a top. I'd rather store my wealth in gold. You know what I mean? Because remember, if Bitcoin is a true storage of wealth, right? The question there is, okay, which medium do I want to store my wealth in at that point? If you're a high net worth individual, or even if you're just an individual. So if you see the price of Bitcoin way, way in excess of gold, that could mean that, hey, there might be actually demand on the gold side of things. And then if you see the opposite happen, it could be, hey, it's time to dump the gold position and instead buy some Bitcoin position because it got low enough, so.
Right.
One thing to mention too, I want to just pull this up. I was actually looking for a different chart or a different graphic, but so these are the companies and their application dates as to when they can apply for the Bitcoin ETF. From what I understand, please keep me honest in the chat, all of these ETFs, if they were approved, Coinbase would be the custodian of these. The
custodian, correct. I heard about this. What does that mean, that Coinbase is a custodian?
That means that basically all these Coinbase benefits directly from all of the inflows of these, like that one single exchange. This is why as long as Coinbase is fine, I'm okay holding my money, like with the other exchanges going down. But this is quite interesting. Spot Coin.
It could be the main reason why Coinbase went up to 4 or 5x in the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, here it is.
Because everybody's expecting the ETF to happen, and they know that Coinbase is the direct beneficiary. In fact, they're the only exchange that is this regulated in all of crypto. So there is really nobody else. Gemini I don't think they're close. So Coinbase is the only place you can go to.
And keep in mind, we are still way a ways away from what it IPO'd at, and even like local
Oh,
peak.
yeah.
This is where we're nowhere near it now. But you can see that. I mean, it has blown past its previous peaks of what is this, $111, and now we're at 140 with no end in sight. These are daily candles. And
Do you
so,
guys have coin
So-
at all?
Yeah, I have coin.
Yeah.
How much? What
Coinbase,
percentage?
when KRIS talks about a proxy play, Coinbase was mine. Coinbase was the
We're down too
stock that
much.
I
We
bought
never want to talk about
to
it again.
have the outsized gains in response to crypto, punks.
I did want to respond that, Chris, I know that you're trying to compare this against gold, and it seems like a reasonable argument. The problem is, I think Bitcoin is running for two reasons, and we talked about them. One is the halving that keeps coming every 4 years, and the other one is just the ETF. So it's not a store of value right now. Like, this is just trading, in my opinion, but this
Okay,
trading
but hold on.
ends
Pushing back. Do you think it's running up in anticipation of the ETF,
in
and the ETF
anticipation of the
actually
ETF.
won't help it run anymore?
Well, I don't think it's going to be like an S&P inclusion thing where it's going to be like buy the rumors, sell the news. Like once they're approved, it's going to start.
That's what I'm asking.
Well,
is it
why
is
not?
It a Pounce Your NHS?
Hold
sell the
on.
news thing?
To answer Carlos's thing, I don't know if you remember, but in 2017, the futures were approved. It ran up, and that's exactly when it crashed.
That's fine, but the difference is these ETFs would represent a bunch of inflows that need to happen.
Yeah, but those inflows don't happen day one. It's not like everybody just, every ETF's available. So the actual boots on the ground thing, it still takes time for it to play out.
Oh yeah, but markets like certainty, and you say,
Yeah.
well, this money definitely needs to come in right now. And so
my point is there could be a massive pullback once that happens.
Listen, there very well could be, but then depending on the timing of when they're approved, then you've got the halving, which would take place on and around there, and you're going to have
assuming it's
restricted supply.
Assuming it's set up perfectly, January, February that happens.
That's what
March, April the other thing happens. So in a perfect world, but I don't know if we live in that world just yet. So we'll see what happens.
I think you guys are right. Coinbase is a good proxy play, not just for the run up in Bitcoin, but also for these ETFs. Because I mean, from a business perspective, remember, all they have to do is just store the Bitcoin and they make money, right?
Mhm.
You're getting tons of performance fees
on buying and selling. Like
on buying and selling. Yeah, buying and selling.
No,
but
and
then
storing
also,
it for those
and storing
exchanges.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. So they make money either way. They make it on the transactions between two people. They make the money on storing it for people. They probably make money on, people hedging against it. Because remember, when you short, you also have to pay interest charges on that asset, right? So that's another way that brokers could be making money too. So, like I said, I think this becoming a major asset class is not the end all be all. The question is, who's the ultimate beneficiary? So that's where I would say probably Coinbase is a good proxy, and that's why Robinhood might actually be one good too. It just depends on.
I still have a question. I still have a question about how Robinhood is making their money if they're not making fees on the buying and selling of crypto.
So they are making a fee. So I was talking to Vitaly about this last night.
They are.
Making,
I was going to say
they're making 0.35% of every Bitcoin trade. Coinbase, I think, is like 2%. Let me know if I'm wrong.
Well, you can pay pay a monthly fee now. You can pay like a monthly fee to Coinbase and then basically have feeless trades for the month. I think it's $20 a month. So it's like a subscription.
$30 a month.
$30 a month. And Coinbase One, I think it's called. And you pay for that.
But then there's also order flow too, right? So basically you have the exchange who actually does the transaction. And the thing is, they take a little bit off the top as like their commission. So we think that it's a free transaction. Like, let's say I sold, Bitcoin to Carlos. I put in an order for $1.10, right? And then let's say Amit right now wanted to buy that Bitcoin, but he's not going to pay $1.10. He puts an order in for $1.05, right? And what ends up happening is that transaction that happens in between to get those two things together. What would happen is that the completion of that trade at the same time would mean that there's a spread of like 5 cents, and then who gets to collect it? It's usually the people who do the exchange itself. So that's where guys like Ken Griffin and Citadel and Virtue make a ton of money by having access to that order flow. And what they do is they take such a small amount off the top that people don't notice it as a thing. It's just like, hey, it's just the cost of doing business. But when you add up all those pennies, they end up in the billions of dollars. So that's the entire business model.
Because we're talking about Robinhood, let's just get into it. Robinhood's up 10% on the day. November trading volumes on crypto and their 8K was 75% higher than October. October was 92% higher than October 2022. That means $2.3 billion of crypto was traded. 75% higher means $4 billion was in November. $1.4 billion of deposits were put into the platform in November, over $1 billion in October. Like, people are fucking using this product. And I think the cat came out of the bag. I stayed up with our good friend Sebastian till 5 a.m. last night. I was doing work, and we were on a phone call for 2 hours, and he's bullish, but he wanted to make sense of the valuation because he's an investment banker. We came up with some numbers, and the market cap just doesn't make any sense if crypto keeps pumping, because that means the transaction revenues on Robinhood's platform, along with their cash pile, should just take this to a different level. Chris, what are you thinking about this? Then I want to get Vitaly and Carlos here. 1071, it was at 790 on Thanksgiving. 13 is the resistance. What are you thinking about?
I love Sebastian, but I think sometimes his way of valuing things can get in the way of sometimes investing a little bit. So as an example, me and him were talking about Wingstop. Like, he messaged me. We just had a quick valuation discussion on Wingstop. And I said, I think what it is that's what happens when you're an investment banker. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to run numbers, but sometimes companies don't rely on just those numbers, that there's some underlying intangible asset that a company might have that gives it a whole different valuation than anything else. So like Robinhood, and this is the discussion that we were having, or someone else was having around what is Robinhood's actual moat. And, I think you said it this morning, that Robinhood's actual moat is the UI. Like, the UI is easy to use, easy to transact with. These are the kinds of things that will give Robinhood a bigger multiple. So I think
just
right
to give
now,
some context, Sebastian did invest this morning because we talked about it for hours, and in the morning he texted me. He's like, "All right, I'm in." So So I think it's important that we do use some fundamentals in trying to value this company, but don't rely on it solely to the point where it makes you like lose sight of other intangibles. I mean, the example that I would always give is, you look at Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady was chosen in the NFL draft at like 199, versus all these other superstar quarterbacks that had all the right numbers. They ran the combine at crazy amounts, and yet there were intangible assets that Tom Brady brought to the table that weren't fully realized when they did their picking. So my thing is, right now, I think you're right, Amit. I think the UI of Robinhood is great. I'm a seasoned investor, and yet I still use Robinhood. Now, why is that?
I think you were right that today I started looking to it. I was going to buy some in the AM, and then it ran up, which I totally missed. I just found out from your tweet.
It could pull back soon. It was a big run.
I don't think the pullback matters, because I'm looking at this. Maybe you correct me, give me some knowledge on this. So I'm looking at Robinhood right now. It says the enterprise value is $3.65 billion. Is that true?
Yeah, that is correct.
So, or around there, 4 billion, let's say, right? So the other question, you said they're profitable. I don't see any forward PEs or anything. So
it's only been 2 quarters. Last quarter, they had a regulatory fine. So the street sold them off because they were going to put up 19 million in profit 2 quarters in a row. They had to pay a regulation fine from like the GameStop era. The SEC charged them. They're like, all right, fuck it. They paid the 100 million. So they turned not profitable, and the street dropped them like 15%, but they're profitable, right?
Well, not officially, but you're saying this quarter coming up, they will be. That's what you're saying.
Well, they were profitable in Q2. They made 25 million in Q2. And so that's what I'm saying. Q3, that stupid regulation fine fucked them. But I mean, this is a GAAP profitable company that's growing 30% year over year and has 6 billion
Let me ask. So the 5 billion they have on the books, that's their money. That is not, we're not talking about.
Correct. It's their money.
It's their money. Meaning it's
whatever the fuck they want.
Money, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about it's their money.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like
under custody that you're referring to is about 90 billion.
This seems like a no-brainer, by the way, in terms of if crypto pumps and continues to next year, Robinhood should be over $20.
It's interesting. Chris, you're muted.
So this will be a nice little education session. So 26 billion in assets minus 19.7 in liabilities. That means you get a 6.6 billion in equity valuation. Okay. What does that mean? That means that, even though they have 8.7 billion in cash, some of those things are considered deposits by what is that thing called? By users, right? But for the most part, there's about $6 billion in equity. And so if you just pure based on equity, nothing else, you're just looking at it assets minus liabilities, you're getting about 6.5 billion in equity. What's the current market cap?
9.8 billion, 10 billion, 10 billion.
No,
right.
no,
So it's trading 9 points. So it's trading at a $3 billion premium, which is fine. That's just how shit works. Like there's very little time that, depending on the business model, where you're gonna see like everything line up exactly with the market cap. A lot of times that's why you have values on companies trading way above book value and way below book value. It just depends on the industry. The most interesting thing, in my opinion, when you're looking at a Robinhood, is this figure right here, which is their cash from operations, right? Yes, this quarterly giant cash from operations, but it was primarily from changes in working capital. But for the most part, they're generating cash, which is good. That means that eventually that cash is going to make its way to the business. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what exactly happens to this with this company.
Chris, let me ask you this question real
more
quick, and then we'll get Carlos in here. This is my bear case for Robinhood. Recession happens. Equities don't do well, therefore trading activity goes down, which fucks the platform, and then interest rates come down, which means their pile of cash isn't printing the interest revenue they were printing. Do you think that's how this trade goes wrong, essentially?
I mean, it depends on what Robinhood does with that cash pile. I mean, they could theoretically buy some longer term treasuries on that cash pile,
But if rates are coming down, they're not going to be able to get the money they've been printing the past couple quarters.
No. But the thing is, if you buy a longer dated treasury, like let's say right now, most of the cash that they have is sitting in 2-year treasury notes, or let's say 1 year, or just regular bills. That means that money has to keep getting refreshed over and over. So right now they're making about 5.5% return in short-term rates. Well, what they could do is they could say, you know what, let's take that money, put it into the 10-year. The 10-year is very liquid also. And so they would be gaining from that fixed 4.5% return for like the next 5 years. I mean, it's not 4.5 anymore. It's like 4.15%. But that's what a lot of businesses do. They can actually move out their cash piles into the future. They are taking on some risks by doing that, because like let's say like interest rates.
Right.
Well, if interest rates start to go up, those bond values are going to go down. Right.
100%.
So that's the risk that you're taking. But if you're a treasurer with a company and you really realize like, hey, I think at this point we've hit it, we're going into deflation mode, and we have this giant cash pile that may not be generating enough revenue for us in the future, and we don't need all of it to fund our operations. Let's use some of that, put it into a higher yielding asset temporarily. And if we do need to draw on it, we could always sell those treasuries because they're liquid. So it's just you're moving the goalposts a little bit out further. So yes, you'll take a little bit of a hit in terms of like the money because of the inverted yield curve, but you'll also be gaining that income going forward. I know if that sounds a little complicated. I hope I didn't lose everyone.
No, that makes sense. And I really, if crypto pumps, I think Robinhood is going to be a Coinbase 2.0. Like I think that's going to happen. Because I think the market's looking for I don't think the market wants to buy Coinbase because it's already 5x. Robinhood's barely up 20% this year. But if Robinhood's the third largest holder of Bitcoin in the world, and I mean, like if Bitcoin pumps, Carlos, what do you think about that? Where do you see kind of Robinhood playing out in that ecosystem?
This is what I've been looking at while you guys are talking. I think it's important to zoom out. This is Robinhood's chart from the inception. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything that we're talking about, this thing is trading in a $6 to $12 channel. It's been trading sideways. Look at them. Missed earnings. It actually didn't tank much further.
Yep.
When they had a beat, didn't actually pump. Missed earnings, beat. This tells me that Wall Street is not taking this thing seriously. Because
all right, let me ask you this. How much institutional percentage do you think Wall Street owns of this company?
I think almost nothing. I would say,
dude, it's 80% institutional, 20% retail.
Well, then, but even if it is, they're not selling, they're not buying.
I get it. I'm just saying, if they have a catalyst to pump,
in fact, they sold all of it.
They sold it.
It's still 80%.
The catalyst, I think they buy in again.
Okay, if it is 80%, then the institutions that wanted to hold it already do hold it. They might see it as a long-term play, but I don't really know many institutions that buy and hold long term, especially a company as sort of new as this, and especially over this time frame. So I don't know, guys. Like, it's still been pretty much dead money since inception.
You're right about that. You're right about that.
But okay, so now we're talking about crypto. They announced that they would allow crypto on the exchange on August 30th. Where is that? Somewhere around here, right? No, August 30th last year. I mean, either which way, at some point in here, the announcement that Bitcoin would be able to trade on this exchange did really nothing for the stock, and they are one of the largest holders of Bitcoin. Still did nothing for the stock.
The problem is, Carlos, remember they IPO'd with 70 million shares in the float.
Can you bring up coin? Show the chart for coin.
Yeah, but this is just subtly trying to counter the narrative that buying plays like micro strategies are a direct correlation automatically mean that holding a lot of Bitcoin means that the stock will go up. Micro strategies holding a lot of Bitcoin, the reason why that's good for their stock is because Michael Saylor is out there every fucking day championing this thing. So just the fact that you are holding
Bitcoin, I agree with that.
Because understand,
I'm not saying it's directly correlated to Bitcoin. I'm just saying it's so undervalued at this point that if Bitcoin pumps.
I hear you, but I'd like to just make my point, and then you can counter it. Holding Bitcoin on your balance sheet isn't necessarily a good thing. It wasn't a good thing for Tesla when they bought in a bunch. It did pump up the price, but you have, in other words, on your earnings report, if they don't get to report the gains on the unrealized gains on Bitcoins, but they do suffer the losses if Bitcoin goes under their purchase price. So it's not necessarily a good asset to hold on your balance sheet, or doesn't necessarily mean that it's good.
Yeah, no, Carlos is making an excellent point there, and it's perfect for our MicroStrategy example, because perfect example, a lot of Bitcoin, nobody fucking cares. But take a look at Coinbase. At some point, you do start caring. So obviously, but Coinbase is the easier play because of the ETF and their relationships. So that's honestly the better play in terms of crypto. I think Coinbase would still do better than Robinhood over the long term.
And that's at a market cap. That's at a market cap of 35 billion. I agree. I just think the respect is there. The legitimacy of the asset is finally there. And when people think about that, the custodian that you look at is Coinbase.
I think you're right about that. I just do think it's gone up 4x, and that's where people might be trying to see something else a little different. But I agree with your point that Robinhood.
Yeah, but hold on, but now here's the counter to the point that I just made. Okay,
Robinhood's been countering his own points now.
I wish somebody would say this. This is what I wish somebody would say.
He's like, before you continue, let me counter.
I'm going to counter. Because I'm trying to do the 360 because I do challenge my own thesis here. Robinhood has been trading in a $6 to $12 range. That's 100%. It's doubling and then halving and doubling and halving. There's a lot of maybe there's a halving event with Robinhood's got its own halving events. But the point is that yes, especially if you are leveraging with options, you can make a fuck ton of money of it, even though it's trading sideways. I mean, Robinhood stock is a good example of how to make money when a stock is trading sideways. You could.
I agree. And the same thing with Snapchat. At $8, we all thought Snapchat was dead. It's at 14. I'm like, this is the play.
It literally just fucking doubled on you.
No. Robinhood didn't just double. Robinhood was $7.93. Now it's at $10.80. So there's
no. I'm saying from 6 to 12. If we look at the channel, that little channel where it's been dead,
it went from 12 to 7.
I know, but okay, Carlos. At the end of the day, this might be longer. It might be towards the end of the Bitcoin run. Who knows? But at the end of the day, if Robinhood is actually putting up great numbers and keeps beating, it will show up in the stock price eventually. It's just right now, nobody believes it.
Oh, right. Yes, exactly. And the other knock-on effect of this is, like you said, how much money was deposited into
1.4 billion last month.
And then, well, we got to look and see what their new subscriber numbers are. Like anything that gets people into the Robinhood ecosystem is good for them. Because it doesn't mean that someone's going to come in, just buy Bitcoin.
It's a real business. That's also why I like
UI. The UI is, I wouldn't say it's a moat, but it's a selling point for it because it does make it very easy to say move money around and start poking around and seeing what the other features are. This is something that I think we all agree SoFi should be able to do better. So
Carlos, I swear to God, I fucking hate SoFi's UI. To get an investing platform to do good by the UI is really, really difficult, man. Like. Look, I'm a seasoned investor. I've used Fidelity's platform. I used to use TD Ameritrade as well. This Charles Schwab thing is just not working for me. I don't know about you guys in the chat, but it's not as good having a good UI, especially when you're trying to trade, is so important. Like, so I use Fidelity right now because I need some of the other asset classes that Fidelity offers. But dude, if Robinhood offered a lot of the same asset classes, I buy preferred equity, right? You can't buy preferred equity on Robinhood. That's just a sad reality, but it is a thing. But eventually, and it's something that Amit brought up this morning, that could be another avenue of revenue for them in the future, because that could be something that they add on. So yeah, I mean, I'm not like sold on Robinhood, the idea of I want to invest in a company that's a brokerage, but in terms of like a user, bro, I love the platform. I love it. The one of the things that's interesting, Renaissance actually added a crap ton of Robinhood in December 5th. So not, was it today? When did they add? No, this was according to their 13F filing. So they added last month. Like sometime in the last quarter that they added.
Probably $9, around $8. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Simon Simmons, however you pronounce it. I mean, this guy is not a stupid guy. If they're adding this kind of volume to their thing, even though they're quants, they could be seeing something happening at the quantitative level.
No, I mean,
that's helping
$28 million, right? That's what they added. 28 million. That's not a lot for them, to be honest.
No, I know, but remember, they have how many funds? Like, how many companies are they invested in? Hundreds, if not thousands. The key is, what did they find in the technicals that made them want to even deploy any capital to that specific company? Because I think the fund itself right now has over like 2,000 companies that they invested in. Right. So, like I said, there may be some technical things from a quantitative level that we may not be necessarily we may not know right now. So
here's another intangible advantage that I think Robinhood has. You would think, with Coinbase being the premier exchange for Bitcoin, that would be how people share information about it. I mean, every single time I see someone talking about a price on X, or even on other platforms, on Instagram, they're always posting screenshots from the Robinhood app.
Dude, this is what Vlad said last night on the interview. He was like, dude, when Bitcoin pumped to 40, he was like, all the screenshots were Hood
all the screenshots are Robinhood screenshots. So what happens is people are getting used to the UI before they use the app itself. Then when you get the app, it feels very familiar. The Coinbase app, as good as it is to hold the actual asset and to buy and trade, it's not very good to share. That's an intangible advantage that they have by making an AI that is so. And initially they were shit on for it because they were saying, oh, you're gamifying trading, and it looks and it's preying on.
They got people ready.
It's worked out.
Yeah. So I want to point out,
I've seen one screenshot of SoFi.
Someone asked about the Coinbase. I just want to bring it back a little around. Why Coinbase will win and why Robinhood won't in this case. I mean, it's a trading app, yes, but remember, Coinbase is like becoming the institutional go-to. Okay, that's a big deal. So as ETFs and all of these things are created, Coinbase will be the only real custodian of all of this shit. So I think that's why the run on Coinbase is not done, because as this becomes a legitimate asset class where everybody's investing, and not just me and Carlos and 10 other people in the chat, I think Coinbase does way better. And that's why I bought it at 300 and something. The problem is I was way too early.
Way too early
with buying it. I should have just.
Are you still? What's your average on it now? Have you DCA'd, or are you still?
No, dude.
I have not DCA'd.
I am so underwater on the.
No. Explain the logic. Why didn't you you guys believe in crypto more than anyone?
Well, I spent a lot in the beginning, so I didn't want to.
Yeah, I spent a lot. I don't know.
And then my thesis was like, well, I believe in crypto. I'd just rather buy the crypto back.
Yeah.
So I was buying Bitcoin back and forget about
Coinbase. You guys reminding me of marijuana. Dude, I was so bullish on pot stocks. I was like, bro, legalization, once that comes, pot stocks are just gonna roar, man. And bro, I had a bunch of pot stocks that
it does sound similar.
So someone messaged me on Patreon. Hey Chris, have you seen any pot stocks late? No, I don't want to touch.
Get them away from me.
Keep them away from me. I don't want to talk
about
your
drugs. Yeah, real quick, check this out. This is Vitaly's point. There it is.
Yeah.
Make it bigger.
Wait, let me ask you a question. When you say that, if Binance collapsing, is this good for Coinbase?
Yes.
Well, it's fucking great for them.
If you can't trust Binance,
right? Monopoly territory. You get into there's one company that is basically holding all of the Bitcoins that are being traded inside of this, or that are being held as an underlying asset to these spot ETFs. But I mean, look at it: Grayscale, ARK, BlackRock.
You said the magic word, Carlos. Monopolies, and that was the original reason. Buy monopolies. Coinbase is a monopoly. It's just not a massive one yet. I think it will be a massive one. And Uber too.
All right, let's
Oh
what did you say,
God,
Todd?
Uber's going
Uber,
vertical.
okay.
I feel so bad for that company.
Okay, you open Pandora's box. What's going on with Uber? Carlos, why are
sorry.
you bearish about Uber?
No, I know that the stock is pumping right now, but I just feel like this is
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the death knell of Uber. Let me bring that up.
the stock. I think the stock will do well in the short term, but I think there is going to be a reckoning for these.
Oh, you're bullish on Tesla killing Uber. That's your...
No. I just think autonomous driving will eventually kill the rideshare service. That's what I think. I think the autonomous rideshare just makes the most sense for that, because the prices of these services are freaking astronomical. I mean, I see posts all the time of people posting their receipts from Uber, whether it's Uber Eats, DoorDash. I mean, the prices are ridiculous. The markups are ridiculous. And another thing too is
the stock's pumping.
As energy prices go up, right? As energy prices go up, that cost gets passed on to consumers because and then when they had to pay their employees as employees, all of those costs were also passed on. So the initial allure of these ride sharing services and the food delivery was amazing, but I feel like it was a bubble that's like popped now, and we're stuck footing the bill where it doesn't make sense anymore. I don't use them anymore. I mean, do you guys use Uber or Uber Eats as much as you did before? I don't.
I use Uber whenever I need to, not just willy-nilly. And yes, so I'm out in the world right now traveling. Exactly. When I can't access my vehicle, I use Uber. Absolutely.
But even look out in LA where the distances are a lot greater, Uber is a lot more popular, especially on nights where you're going out. And I've noticed that people don't do that as much anymore. Now it's more like, yeah, we're going to have somebody drive, because the cost of the Ubers back and forth are ridiculous. Even when we were in Vegas, dude, the Uber ride, remember, I mean, we walked 2 miles to go to Starbucks to get a Starbucks in the morning because the Uber ride was more expensive than all of the.
You guys are cheap.
That's what I'm learning. So much on Uber.
Yeah, but when you're spending, Vitaly, $25 to go like 3 miles in an Uber.
I mean, between 4 people, big deal. I mean, honestly,
it was like sometimes it was just me, or it was
it's
like
between 3 millionaires and one poor guy.
Yeah,
well,
but you don't keep the millions. You don't keep the millions.
You want
giving
the
it away.
$7 an episode if you're freaking millionaire.
Hold on.
How do you think we got to millionaire status?
Exactly, man.
Hey, let me tip my hat.
I saved all my pennies, by the way. I saved all my pennies for a very long time before I treated myself. A very long time.
Yeah, and remember,
there's better ways of treating yourself than having somebody drive you in a smelly car.
Bro, if I could trade you all that I have and take your life expectancy, I would take your shit over my $1 million.
And when we figure out how to kill you and take your life, we will.
Bro,
Alex Ramosi talks about that a lot, that you would trade everything just to go back to a 25-year-old, 30-year-old body.
Dude, if I had the knowledge that I have right now and the capital that I have right now, and I was in your shoes at your age, bro,
but let me say this. I've said this publicly, but I will always take the opportunity again in front of 471 people. Thank you for being here. Make sure you press the like and subscribe button. I am so fucking grateful.
He finally said it. Amit finally said press the like button. Amazing.
I am so grateful to all 3 of you guys. I cannot lie. Like, the reason I'm up on Robinhood right now is because KRIS taught me a lot of these strategies. The reason I'm understanding Bitcoin is because of Carlos.
Hold on. I did not teach anything about Robinhood to Amit. I taught him basic concepts around options.
Correct. That's what I mean.
He applied it himself. And I think that's the key that I am proud at. It's not that I told him, oh, you need to buy this stock or you need to buy this one. It's that he's applying.
He's even stealing your thunder by taking it to himself.
I am.
No. It's like dude,
he's trying to thank you, and you're like, no, thank me.
No, I'm saying, no, I'm actually trying to say, no, all the credit.
You're thanking me for the wrong thing. Amit, you're wrong.
We get it, KRIS.
Amit deserves all the credit. That's what I'm saying. No, but he also deserves all the credit if he loses it too. So
exactly. Even to KRIS's point, someone texted me on Twitter today. They're like, yo, this is I got it at low 8s, and this is all because of you and what you posted on Twitter. I'm like, dude, I get it, but you press buy. And like, that's the biggest thing I've learned this year. When I was up 30 grand on SoFi and I didn't press sell, that's my fucking fault. That's none of you guys' fault. That's my fault.
I blame Chamath.
I blame Chamath. Yeah, you blame.
But it's this goes back to the point at the beginning about like, why are you guys talking about Bitcoin when your audience doesn't want to hear it? Because there are things that we discuss when we're talking about assets or asset classes that you don't have that still apply. There's still a general a philosophy in investing that will poise you for success, whether you're in the asset class or not. And
Amit, I would like to hear the kind words you were going to say to me. Because they killed all of it.
I was gonna say, like,
They
I
took
randomly
over
call,
these selfish bricks.
I randomly text or call any of you guys, and I've done it multiple times over the past couple of months, asking about either a stock, an idea. I did the same with Steve. He's not on the podcast, but Steve, I talked to him for a couple hours the other weekend. Like, I'm just so grateful to have people in my life that I can run these ideas by, because these are better conversations than, oh my God, did you see Kim Kardashian's fucking like ass last night or something? Like, these are the real conversations. Like, I stayed up till 5 a.m. talking about a stock last night. My dad came in the basement. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, trying to figure out if I should invest in Robinhood. He's just like, what the fuck? Like,
He's
what
like,
is
"Can you
going
just
on
jerk
here?" 'Cause
off
he
like a
doesn't even-
normal fucking teenager.
He's not a teenager in his 20s. But the
Not a
point taken.
teenager
The point is
anymore.
taken.
I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful to be here, grateful for the opportunity. And I hope the people that are in the chat also can get a little bit of value from this, and they're grateful just to get some of the content, because I'm extremely grateful to hear this stuff at this age. It's tough. Making money is tough. Making money in the stock market is fucking tough. And it's it's humbling. I saw a fund manager the other day talking on CNBC. He's like, it's the most humbling. The Steve Wiseman, the Big Short dude, he was on CNBC. He's like, it's the most humbling business in the world. You might take profits so early and miss out on a 20x, or you might be at the top and miss out on a 20x because you waited. It's very humbling. And so you got to go through the expensive lessons of figuring this shit out.
I hope you learn our mistakes more than you learn our successes, because I think that is, we have made a lot of expensive mistakes. Like, trust me, I've made my fair share. So my hope for you
is VITALY's last night for 4 years.
Yep. So everyone has these expensive mistakes, bro. My prayer to you is that you don't make those same like careless mistakes that in hindsight were very careless, so.
I feel you have to in a certain sense.
I think I have to some extent. I mean, I was down 50 grand in 2022. I could have been up a lot this year. I didn't take profit. So I think I'm getting there. I'll probably make a lot more, but it's learning a lot and helping me. Let's end off on this.
I do just want to say this.
Go ahead, Carlos.
There was a post that Jeremy put where he was like, what is the stupidest investment advice that you've ever been given, or like that people sort of champion? And it was like, buy high, sell, buy low, sell high. These like stupid things that people say. One of the things that stuck with me that I think you're learning now, Amit, is what Peter Lynch said, that it's making money in the stock market is not about your head. You got to have the stomach for it. It's not even about having the head for it.
Yes.
And I think that's something that you really got to learn that lesson yourself until you internalize it and take either massive losses or miss out on big gains by not selling. You got it. Once you internalize that, that's when I think it really starts to harden you, and you get the keys as to how to make money in the stock market. Anyway, it's more about your stomach than it is your head.
Here's a lesson that I learned recently. Don't bet against Adam Bergman. If Adam Bergman, because he's in the show with us right now, I'm gonna have to cough up 2 G's.
Dude, Adam, tell us the date you're free. We're gonna get you on the episode. You're gonna transfer Chris. You're gonna transfer the money right live.
Not all of it in one shot. I gotta keep under that $600.
You got a DCA into this.
I got a DCA. Adam, I'm gonna need to be on a payment plan for a little bit, bro.
The other real thing I want to say real quick, and then we'll just go to Google for the last 5 minutes, is I think I have learned some of the strategies on how to create gains. And even though I didn't get all the gains this year, I have a fuck ton of confidence that I will create those gains again. And I'm just internalizing that will happen. I will find an opportunity again. It will happen. I just have to be ready for that moment. And just having the confidence in and of itself that, look, you didn't get the gains this year or as much as you really could have gotten, but you got the skill set to try to make it happen. And then hopefully if I get an opportunity again, I'll make it happen. I think that's the biggest thing for me in 2023, that I think I have the confidence to be able to make the gains happen again. So we'll see if we get those opportunities. Google, what the fuck is going on with Google? Gemini AI 2024, investors not happy. What's going on?
So I'll tell you guys. So Google right now, everyone is kind of like a little bit down on Google, which totally understandable.
Google, Chris, definitely. I'm still up on Google.
No, I'm up too. I'm up too. But I'm just saying, everyone is down in terms of like potential sentiment. Of Google. Yeah, the sentiment around Google is negative because they pushed Gemini out to Q1. They had originally planned on doing the launch of like November, December, around this time, and they pushed it out. And so a lot of people are saying, hey, maybe Google's actually lost its innovative edge. Maybe the culture at Google is starting to decay a little bit, and they're not able to release products on time anymore, and they're falling behind. That means that, hey, maybe they don't deserve the valuation that they normally get. Maybe the valuation that they deserve should be much lower. So these are the kinds of things that are happening in the background. So on that note, Google's like, look, we have a great product that's coming out in the first quarter of 2024, but we want to make sure that we're shoring up our our company's prospects for the future by doing something that's just a demo version. Hopefully, and this is the gamble that they're taking, everything goes right and they don't have a Tesla moment where they throw a steel ball at a window and break the fucking thing, because that's what could happen. If they go in live to Gemini and say, hey, this is going to be a great product, and they completely fuck up on the presentation and it's something that looks like garbage, bro, Google stock will go down below 100, but if they really knock it out the park, bro, Google could go to 150. So this is the gamble that Google is taking right now. So I'll see what happens. I'll be very curious to watch it.
I'm also worried just that, yes, I don't think Sundar Pichai, if I'm saying that right, is the right guy. I've come to that decision.
Whoa. Okay. We're on YouTube.
No,
He's going to kick us off now that you said that, but why?
He keeps making big mistakes. And just even thinking about the transformer technology that I was always, wondering, why would you let that escape? Like, why don't you own this? And obviously it wouldn't be good for the world if they owned it. I do agree there. But it's just he makes a lot of mistakes, and they're big, and then he has to catch up to his own thing. It's wrong. So that's my thing about Google, that I feel like they need another CEO. I don't think he's the right guy. I don't think they lost their edge overall. I think they could make a comeback. I think it's a $200 stock, but I don't have as much faith because of that guy anymore.
I would say I have faith in Sundar because he is the guy that was hand chosen by Larry and Sergey to like run the company. The problem that I think that's happened over the last 5 years is there has been a cultural, and this is something that I've spoken to you guys about, right? That the culture over at Google has devolved. And that, believe it or not, is something that Sundar Pichai is responsible for, because a strong leader usually will step up and say, no, we need to get our shit together. Like, did you guys see what what's his name from the CEO from Spotify, the letter that he sent out to his employees today?
This was pretty ruthless, bro.
The layoff. That's the kind of shit that you need to protect shareholders and shareholder valuations, where he just came out and said, look, there's a ton of you that are working, and then there's a ton of you that are working to make working, or something along there. But he basically said, we are going to be ruthlessly efficient with how we deploy our resources. And Google has always had all this giant cash flow that came in, which let them be like very lax. And instead of taking that cash and making it into something bigger and bigger and bigger, they've kind of just like chilled a little bit, and so they thought that they had an unlimited amount of time where that search cash flow was always going to be there. And now everyone is saying, hey, maybe search is going to be disrupted by these LLMs. I don't think that's going to happen, but some people in the Valley are actually.
I don't think it's going to happen either.
Well, if it happens, it's going to be a long process anyway. It's not tomorrow. Google has a long runway for this kind of stuff.
Can I just say, like, I have to agree with VITALY. Like, as much as we like these Indian guys to be like executors, and a guy like Badri is an absolute killer in the type of business that Enphase runs, I don't think that's the mindset. He seems to me to be a defensive sort of CEO, and I think what you're seeing, this attitude from Spotify, I think Elon telling these advertisers to go fuck themselves has emboldened CEOs, or some CEOs, to just say what the fuck they think, and they're understanding.
But Carlos, Google cannot say that.
Google
can't say
that.
They're too big of a company. Go ahead. That's the thing. I fundamentally disagree. I think what you need when you're that big of a company is a visionary leader. If Sundar says go fuck yourself to advertisers, Google goes.
I'm not saying he should say go fuck himself, go fuck yourselves to the advertisers. But what I'm saying is Google would have the biggest float in the woke parade. Let's be honest. They would be. And what I think they're seeing now is the actual drawbacks of running your business that way. And I think investors, the investor sentiment, and potentially the stock price will eventually suffer from that. I think people want their CEOs to be bold. As much as I don't like, let's say, some of the things that Alex Karp doesn't say, right? I've got to give it to him that he does go on and sort of speak his mind, right? And I think people now, especially now in today's day and age where it's about being politically correct, the CEOs that step up and just say the thing that everyone's thinking. This is one of the reasons why I respect Farley so much at Ford. He doesn't pretend like they're in a bubble like Mary Barra. He says it straight out how it is. And I think people respect that. So that's what I think Google needs to turn the sentiment portion of it around.
I just want to hold on.
They've been really defensive.
Before you go, Kris, I want to bring up also the Coinbase CEO, Brian Armstrong. he also, when all those snowflakes were coming out, he literally said, "Hey, this is not a political company. We're here to make fucking money." He wrote a whole letter about it.
Mhm.
And he said, "You can leave and get your 3 weeks of whatever pay or whatever they're paying." And
Severance.
that was the right thing to do. He got
Yep.
rid of a bunch of just dead weight for the company. So it's important. That's another reason I don't hear the guy from Robinhood doing that.
I would see
Robinhood guys are a bit
anytime,
of a scumbag.
anytime I think of Google, I think about this.
If we want to defeat capitalism, we are going to need a party that will organize working people to fight for the demands that we want and to win socialism. Thank you so much.
Quick point of privilege. Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Point of
Guys,
personal privilege.
first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. I just want to say, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum? I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a lot of whispering and chatter going on. It's making it very difficult for me to focus. Please, can we just, I know we're all fresh and ready to go, but can we please just keep the chatter to a minimum? It's affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Okay, is there a speaker against name, chapter, pronoun?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
I'm thinking this was
Point of privilege. Point of privilege. Hold on. Go ahead.
Chris, that red hat looks too much like a MAGA hat. I'm getting a little bit triggered here. Can you please wear a blue or gray hat?
They got to the point where they stopped clapping because they thought that would cause sensory overload.
Right.
So then they started snapping their fingers. So the guy's like, no, that's causing it even more. So then they started to go like this.
Yeah. That's what they do. Honestly, that's what they do in like my toddler daycare. They do this or they do this. I mean,
when you sent that over, I thought it was a joke.
No, that's a real
meeting. Well, he originally sent that to us, and I was like, all right, is this like a skit? Yeah, these people.
Real video. I mean, just think about how long it would take to get anything done if you're constantly stopping for points of privilege and whatnot. It's like, anyway, to my point, I just think that there is a turning point.
Was that a Google meetup?
Culture?
Was that a Google meetup?
That was a board meeting. Anyway, it's nice to see, because I think that there's a tide shifting away from always being politically correct. And I think people are being incentivized now to say what they've got to say, right? Speak your mind. And I think we respect that in our CEOs. And I think that's what Google needs. The Google CEO needs to risk offending certain people to rally the people behind you around a mission that they can go to work every day and feel like they're helping realize, as opposed to being defensive. And I think he's been incredibly defensive. And that's why people that are not as defensive are sort of taking him out.
No, that's fair. It's just then he's in a tough position to be like that when you're making $44 billion a quarter on ads. You know, it's tough.
I'll say I think one thing, even though we all think of Zuck as this like liberal thing, Meta is like this, bro. Zuck is ruthless. All right. At the end of the day, if it means the difference between profits versus offending someone, Zuck is like, hey, show me the money, show you the door. So it just goes to show that depending on who's at the leadership role, that they could make or break the company. And that's exactly why so many people love investing in companies that are founder led, because the founders, they understand that, hey, this is my baby. I don't want my baby to get turned into some weird, or go out of business. So they have a more in-depth, and it goes beyond just the money part of things, So,
well, my bet, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot to mention, I think Larry Page and Sergey Brin are coming back.
Well, they are back. Larry.
No,
Page
I mean,
back.
Sunder's out.
Yeah.
Sunder's going to be out.
No, I think.
Yeah, that's my bet. Next year.
We'll see. But I think Larry Page is back. Sergey Brin is not back fully, but I know Larry Page is working physically at Google.
They're coming back in slowly, and they're going to take over.
They're already at the offices. I think.
No, but you can't be a founder and be like, "Oh, you run the fucking show." No. That's not gonna happen.
I mean, at some point, you kind of want to just chill too, Like, I don't think I'd ever want to just be
Tom
like,
from MySpace bounced. You never saw him again.
Dude, they took 10 years off. They want back in.
All right, guys. I got
All right. This is awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, 441 people, for being here. It means the absolute fucking world that you guys watch this thing. Like, subscribe. Our Twitter's in the descriptions. Discord is there. Chris's Patreon is there. Freelance Finance Patreon is there. $5-10 a month if you want to support them. And join the channel, $5 a month. Join the channel if you get any value from this. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night.
As a Patreon member, Chris, I'm asking that you do as much DD on Bitcoin as you do on Disney, and I'm curious what you would find.
I can't do it. I can't do it, man.
Yeah, I actually agree with him. The last thing,
I think, yeah,
if he doesn't want to waste his time and doesn't want to learn
Mm.
about it, it's pointless. There's no point to do it.
Yeah,
I
I
agree
would
with
have
him.
too much of a bias against it. That's the problem.
I agree.
Like
but
it's
I
hard to
see
be.
you,
It's
wait,
really
but I
hard for me
see
to be
you-
objective. Yeah.
But I see you. But I'm saying I see you as a reasonable person that will follow the information and draw the conclusion from where it leads you.
The
not bringing
conclusion
in
is
your
there is
bias.
no cash flows. How can you?
He's like, right. He's like, what's
That's the conclusion.
What's the
I-
free cash flow?
I'm too old to learn. Like I'm just an old dog, man. So
Man,
I'll
I'm turning 46. Carlos is
I don't
also
understand.
47,
Yeah.
and you are like
You guys are young
35?
guys. You
What
guys are young
35?
guys. 37.
37. So you're like almost 10 years younger than us, and we are the ones telling people look into Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
He's in Verizon. He's making a shit ton of money off Verizon, which is
He's
so.
like-
He's the old man, and he's like the old young man of the group, right?
But this is why I like the crew as well, right? You guys got the crypto Tesla. KRIS is like trying to find these mean reversion play. Like there's so much value packed in us
Right.
for I'm funny as fuck, It's so it's just like
And such a
value
snazzy
packed in us
dresser
3.
with an incredible sense of fashion.
dude,
Go
I
like this. Go like that, and I want to see if those teeth are real.
I really think
That's
like
like
I
his
want to
bricks.
develop a new sense of style. Like I want to get like rings. I want to really like get into because on the market open, I want to like become a character. You like I want
All right,
straight
I'll
up,
see you guys. I'll see you guys. I gotta.
let's-
head
yeah,
out.
Yeah, we're gonna go too, but you should dye your hair blue or purple. That's what I see.
No,
All
no,
right,
listen,
later.
green like me, Kevin. Dude, did you see the scarf I was wearing today? Fuck, I left it in the basement. I was wearing this white scarf.
Listen,
I wish I could show you. It was such a big scarf.
if you want, let's talk offline. I had that same sort of epiphany when I moved to LA and realized that a lot of
Oh,
this
and-
is a lot of
Dude,
it,
I need to upgrade on my wardrobe. I need like I'm wearing a hoodie.
Bro.
Like I need like I need to. I'm a character now on YouTube. I need to I know Vivek thinks my ambitions are not big enough to be an astronaut, but I'm on YouTube, man. I need to look good. So
I'll hit you up offline and we'll talk because
right.
there's definitely ways to like up that game. It doesn't cost too much money, and I'm telling you, it does change your life.
no, I think it does. Awesome.
All right, I'll see you.
All right.
tomorrow.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night. Bye bye. Have a good one.